Ever since I was a child, I remember Sundays were not my favorite day whatsoever. I always felt weird on Sundays. I always felt like Sundays were kind of like gray and a little bit sad and kind of like with a monotone vibe, especially towards the end of the day. There was something about that um quiet, but not quiet like in a good sense, like silence would can be like really good sometimes. And like, when something is feel peaceful and quiet, not that kind of quiet. I would feel like it was kind of like empty. And I remember feeling that like for forever, every Sunday. Lately, I don't feel that way anymore. But when I was younger, I used to. And I think nowadays people call it like the Sunday scaries. I don't know if it's exactly the same. What people refer to the Sunday scaries is the same thing I would experience before or when I was younger. Um, but yeah, there's something about Sundays that feels off, or that used to feel off for me. And maybe now that I think about it, maybe it was because I I wasn't eager for Mondays. I mean, when I was younger, I used to go to like to school, whatever, and to like high school and all these things. But um, to be quite honest, I when I was younger, even though like I was a kind of like a good student, I don't think I understood the purpose of school. And even when I went to like college, I don't think I really understood the purpose. I understand it now though, but not at the moment. So going back into my school years or my high school years, I don't think I understood why we were there. And I was like, I mean, I was a good student and I was like a very normal, regular kid in school. And I think I kind of like took it seriously, especially when we did things that were, I guess, fun. But I don't think, and I don't think probably the majority of people feel the same way, that maybe not the majority, but some people feel the same way. And maybe they didn't see purpose in starting it all over again. And I realized that when I started working out. I was always a very skinny guy when I was younger. Probably, and I am skinny now, but uh, I would say a little more like athletic right now. Um, I mean, looks wise, because I've always been like really good with my body. But when I was younger, I was very skinny, very, very skinny, like super skinny though. And at some point, probably when I was like 20 ish, yeah, like around 20 years old or 19 years old, I started like going to the gym. And at some point, I started CrossFit, right? With my friend um, and my brother. And I started being very into working out. And then I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to grow muscle, right? And I started going to the gym and I became obsessed to the point that I was waiting for Sundays to end already, for the weekend to end already, so that I could go to the gym on Mondays. This is kind of weird. But I was so eager for Monday to come that maybe I would just like forget about Sunday. And now that I see that, I think this is the perfect way or the perfect segue to introduce today's topic, which is existence, the fifth dimension of health, that we'll be talking about throughout this series of um, deep health and astrology. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the podcast. This is your host, Marco. I am a marketer, fitness coach, singer, and astrology student, amongst other things, on a journey to discover what it means to be human. I am on a quest to build a community that helps us believe in ourselves, unleash our inner power, and reclaim our voices through self discovery. So, if you enjoy discussing topics such as fitness, relationships, astrology, and human stories, please feel free to subscribe, share, or reach out. Together, and through the power of stories and conversation, we can grow stronger as a community. Especially now that this is usually my introduction. If you've heard the last all the episodes, you're gonna see that that's kind of like my purpose with this podcast, other than I like talking a lot. But I've been on this journey of getting to know myself better and trying to believe in myself more and find power and try to be more confident about my talents or the things that I like or the things that I have to share, with other people, and the things that or finding value in the things that I naturally do in my vocation and, my talents in general. And this also is correlated with the topic we're talking about today. In When we talk about existential health, remember, we've been talking about deep health, which is this approach to health that sees people as multi-dimensional beings, and that kind of like divides health in these 6 segments, like broad segments that are entwined together and that influence having this sense of health and longevity that feels sustainable and that makes you feel somehow happy, and that connects you with your sense of progress and happiness. One of these dimensions is the existential health. This I got from Precision Nutrition. You can go to precisionnutrition.com and they have a bunch of articles on deep health and this approach. Now, according to them, existential health refers to having a deeper why, or feeling like our actions have meaning. When we have a strong self of ourselves and what we are here to do, we feel worthwhile. Valuing ourselves then affects how we treat our minds, our bodies, and the people around us. People find meaning in roles as varied as being the best parent they can be to making the world a better place through the work. The important thing is that people needs to find meaning in something, and sometimes when I was telling that example of Sundays, Sunday, and this is a little bit of astrology here, but Sun day is like Sunday, the day of the sun, right? The sun somehow is like in astrology is like that essence, like your inner gift, represents your heart. It represents consciousness, and realizing that and staying true to who you are and understanding and getting to know yourself and understanding your values and understanding your talents and your gifts and the things that you can share with the world or with other people, I think gives meaning to life. There sometimes when we ask existential questions that, they're existential and they don't really have an answer, or answers are too broad and subjective. Um, I think if we go like deeper and deeper and deeper, we can get a little lost. And then there are very simple things that are very meaningful. And in the quest for all this, and I would say on this valid, very valid quest for answers to questions that are very broad and that seem to open more and more questions, I think that sometimes deflects us from the meaning of life, which is, I guess, living itself, and understanding that what you feel through your senses and this reality, regardless of any, opinion, or um regardless of any religion or idea or hypothesis of existence, I feel it's kind of safe to say that, you're feeling what you're feeling, and then you're, even if it's an illusion or not, you have the ability to experience and to live. And I think that's that's the meaning, or that's where you can find meaning, in those simple things, in being able to breathe and to share, especially when you can share with other people. And for example, for me, one of my values is family, and that's one of the meanings of life to me. It's like being able to share with my family, and create a future, where the people who I love and my friends, um, are there. You know, so, and obviously, in my particular case, I'm lucky to have a nice system and to have like very nice people around me. But there are many simple things, mm, or everyday things that can give meaning to life. But it will depend on your values. And on a broader spectrum, as I said, is, being able to share and to transcend as humans, and, to contribute, like, um to a greater purpose and to greater happiness amongst every individual in the world. But if you look at it as an individual, like from an individual perspective, many things can add value and meaning to your life. It's a matter of getting to know yourself, and in order to get to know yourself, um, I think you need to be willing to observe yourself, but also you need to be willing to live. And I think through your mindset and through finding the tools, maybe simple tools or maybe more academic tools, or depending on the tools you need, or I would say humanistic tools, or things that are proving to work, like you can find a way to have a perspective on life and on your own life that feels fulfilling, that makes you feel safe, and that makes you have a better relationship with the future. So when you allow space for the future, then the present moment has, I think, more meaning, and you're able to literally experience life. And this is very abstract, and but it's kind of like following the path of engaging in behaviors, relationships, and activities that brings joy to yourself and to others, and sharing that joy with other people. When I don't know, when you volunteer, that makes you feel good. When you do something for someone else, that makes you feel good. There's this rewarding feeling when you do something for someone. For example, if I'm doing this and I'm talking, and someone ever listens to this podcast, and if you're listening to this podcast and then you feel somehow better, or you feel like I contributed to your life maybe in a tiny way, that will make me feel really good. At least that at least that's what I think that would be the case for the majority of people. When you do something for someone and you are of help, and I think there's like a tendency for humans to be grateful and to give back and to help and to share the majority of the time. Sometimes we see other spectrums of, or their other I guess shadows or other things about humans that we might not be too proud about, but um there are many really awesome qualities to humans that we need to, accentuate and value and acknowledge. So having that sense of purpose is vital for our health, for our ability to do the things that makes us feel happier, and that makes us feel like we can build a future that we like. I've been very slow. Like, this is funny because I've been I've been thinking a lot today. Like, this is actually very interesting, and you'll know why it's interesting in the next few minutes. But I'm trying to think my words really well, because sometimes there are things that are very hard to explain, and I just don't want to say like nonsense. I'm really thinking, so that's why I'm going slow and taking my time. So I apologize if I'm making you bored right now, because like I'm thinking my way through this, trying to like have a nice balance between abstract ideas and making it feel um rational and somehow logical for understanding, for the understanding of the mind. So, as I was saying, that having that existential health, something that you believe in, either through tradition or through some things that you've found that connect you to that bigger purpose, that deeper why, and that sense of belonging into this reality, is is vital, is necessary to feel healthy. And as I said it, as I've said it before, it's always um uh um it's about progress. Sometimes like you are like, oh, maybe I'm a little lost right now in any area of your life. And then if you strive for those little questions or those little steps that involve action, they will probably involve progress. And that sense of progress, in that sense, remember on the last episode, we talked about trust and um, and faith. So if you believe with those little steps that there's a future and that there's a better future and that there's options and things, if you, as I was saying, if you feel a little lost in some of these areas, if you maybe if you don't even if you don't, that's the thing. That's why it's about faith, because you might not believe because you don't see it yet. But if you can be maybe like mature in that sense, or if you use your willpower to take little steps, you'll probably have progress. And slowly and little by little, with the tools you need and maybe professional help or the help of people around you or the tools that you have next to you at the moment, because those can always change, and the tools can always be improved and be better in terms of resources, help, people, you name it. um, I think you can make your way into feeling healthier and to feeling happier. Um, so I was talking about, the mind. And I, in my particular case, like this is how I'm doing it. You know, I am associating each dimension of health with uh, uh, an aspect or a dimension or an axis in astrology, or a sign or an archetype in astrology. Archetype would be a better word, maybe. So in astrology, again, when you draw a natal chart or an astrological chart, you have 12 subdivisions that are actually 6 pairs of 2 houses. In astrology, they call them houses. The houses are different areas of life. There are 12 areas of life, and each of those areas, like in pairs, they work together. At the same time, as I said it before, deep health has like 6 dimensions, and they are all entwined. Like if you make a little progress in something, or if something is not quite well at some of those dimensions, it might affect the other dimensions. In astrology, it's the same way. All those houses work together. All those energies and or all those archetypes work together. So it's like if you need one in order to transcend or to follow the cycle into the next one. And if you change something here, it might change something in the opposite end of the spectrum. And for this, it would be great if you could go back and listen to the other episodes, because it'll give you a clearer understanding. But so when we talk about existence, I wanted to look at it from the 5th and 11th house in astrology. The 5th house is the house of Leo, and the 11th house is the house of Aquarius. The 5th house is a fire house. It's a Leo, it's a fire energy, and it's ruled by the sun. So remember, we started talking about Sundays and the sun. And then Aquarius is nowadays ruled by Uranus, and it's an air sign. In the past, before the discovery of Uranus, it was ruled by Saturn. And eventually during the podcast, we'll get deeper into each of these energies or archetypes. And yeah, we'll get more into like the rulers of each sign and the elements and all of these. It'll be really good. So try to subscribe, please. If you want to learn about astrology and and make it simple and understandable for everyday life. And just it's kind of like a way, as I said it before, it's a language for me, and it's a way to associate things and learn them better, maybe even from a mind perspective. So remember, I was saying I was being very mental and slow and trying to put words that felt a little more logical but also trying to have a broader perspective on life and the things that I wanted to share in this podcast. And it's um funny because Aquarius rules the mind, but the higher mind is kind of like the eagle when you see things from a higher perspective. But again, when we talk about Leo, let's go back to Leo a little bit, which is a fifth house. In the fifth house, we see it's ruled by the sun again, consciousness, your gifts, your talents, what is natural and innate to you. Um, the things that light your heart, the what you can share, and the things that connect you with other people. Some people there's no kind of like research. I would have I I don't I kind of don't want to talk about it, but like they say like they talk about having like mind or brain and heart and coherence and also like your gut and all these things. They talk about the brains and we have different brains or whatever. um that's kind of like a branch of I don't know if I should, is that new age? I don't know. uh but they say like there's an electromagnetic field that is the strongest one is the heart one. But even like you don't maybe we don't have to get into that to understand that your heart has a lot of power. And then when you feel joy, you feel it. At least me, I feel it in my heart. At least I feel it in my heart. Or when you are in love with someone, or when you love someone very much, like you feel it in your chest, you feel it on your heart. And I don't know, when you hug someone, like you bring your heart together with that other person, and like there's something that might not need a lot of proof or scientific explanation, but that you can feel. And that's what I was talking about earlier about the simple things, that the things that you might not need a lot of information on, but the things that you can feel and to experience through your life and through living from your authenticity, which is your heart. And through life and through the things that we learn, as I think as humans and as a society, we are still learning. But in some scenarios, like we learn how we learn to have a mask, maybe, or to kind of like hide some aspects of ourselves that might as well be great. But depending on the context we were born or where we were raised, or depending on culture or experiences or particular traumatic experience or any experience, we start to like hide those aspects of us that are innate and that bring joy, is what I wanted to say, to our life. And through the acting on those talents and gifts, we make the world literally, or our relationships, a better place. Or again, through those gifts, and through the sharing of those gifts, we make existence better, and not only for ourselves but for other people. So when you share from your authenticity, which again I guess you get through living and through seeing yourself as you are and accepting yourself as you are and being vulnerable, and also through seeing people as they are and not jumping, this is hard, I know, but not maybe jumping into conclusions, but just seeing people for who they are, and not from a place of judgment, but from a place of understanding that they are going through similar situations, maybe, or they've been through situations similar to you. Is like, even if you're, again, maybe even if you have a mask or something, maybe that's not the most potential authenticity, but at least in the moment, is if that's a reality, that's kind of like an authentic, and that's what I'm talking about when I say people, seeing people as they are in the moment. And through creating those spaces for you and for yourself and for other people where it's safe and there's openness to seeing people as they are, I think we create more room for being happier and for people for could create room for people to tap into their gifts, into their talents. Some people are more into scientific and logical things that add a lot of value to the world. Some people are more into artistic things. And I actually now I kind of like want to redefine that, because like I think that's art as well. It's just it's a different type of art or a different type of creativity. Um but in the sharing who you are and sharing it with the world, there's art, there's creativity, and that's the energy of Leo, the energy of creation, the energy of joining and showing yourself as you are and being vulnerable, and then sharing that and creating or co-creating that reality or that something for the future with someone else, with your community, with your family, with your friends, um, with the world, with nature, with everything that exists. So that's the energy of Leo. That's the energy of play, of playing for no particular reason, but for the enjoyment of the joy that that brings to you and to others, for those moments that you will always remember. And that is connected to Aquarius. And through that higher understanding of the reality that you have created and being human and understanding that other people are human as well. So through that higher mind, that it's like trying, it's kind of like this ability to see things from up above and having perspective on things. Um, you see what you've created, and from a space of maybe not judgment with a negative connotation, um, you can say, okay, what I've created till now, what I want to keep for the future, and what do I want to maybe not keep? And taking into consideration yourself from that individual perspective, as we talked a little while ago, from what gives purpose to you, and also from a collective perspective of understanding that you play an important role, and you letting yourself be seen plays an important role as a collective, as humans, as society, and understanding that it's important to see all and everyone as they are. Um, wait, again, this is this is I just want to make clear that this is not a way to justify unjustifiable behavior on other people. No, this is kind of like having a higher perspective on things in general in an abstract way. But yeah, so that would be the energy of um of Aquarius and Leo. Aquarius is an air energy, so it's more into the mind. When people talk about Aquarius, they talk about friends, where Aquarius, or for the Aquarius energy, friends are very important in humanity and the society and nature, and also science is it's very important in that energy, because it talks about the new, the different, the change that needs to take place in order to become better as human beings, as a society. So Yeah, it's funny again because exit like I think I felt like I talked a lot and I went back and forth, but I think it's because this is a very, again, abstract um topic. Especially we will get next episode we'll talk about Pisces, which is very abstract as well. But actually I feel like this was way more abstract than the what I expect to be abstract, which is next episode. Um, but yeah, I want to thank you for staying here. If you stayed till now, I would love it if you have anything to say or anything to share or any value to, to add to this episode. Just shoot me a message. I hope you like it, and I hope you share this with someone else if you feel like it's valuable or shareable. And I hope you can experience life and live and, tap into the things that are innate to you, into your gifts, and, you know, have a blessed life. See you next time.